Hey guys, it's time for another episode of Damien Ruins Horror Movies. My name is Damien. Tonight we are doing Season 2, Episode 5 of Tales from the Crypt. Three's a Crowd. And if you go down to the notes, I have a link to all the Tales from the Crypt episodes so you guys can watch along with me. And as always, this episode is brought to you by Cool Dude Inc. Go down to the notes and go check out some shirts and go make yourself look good. And now let's cue up the whiskey bats. In tonight's tale, Richard sits alone in the dark, waiting for his wife Della to return. Richard kind of looks like a cross between Jake Busey and Jake Paul. His wife finally arrives back home. 4 hours later, after she said she'd be gone 1 hour, she's been out shopping with Alan. Alan is Richard's friend, also best man at his wedding, but that was a long time ago. Now it's their 10-year anniversary, and Alan has a trip planned for them. But Richard just feels like he's rubbing his nose in his success. Richard's like going crazy. He's like a teenager. It's not love, it's that psychotic thing you see on TV a lot, that if I can't have her, no one can, which we actually see a lot on Tales from the Crypt. And it's really not healthy. If you're a girl and you have a guy like this, get away from him. That's not a good relationship. Then Alan calls, which makes Richard even madder, because Della answers the phone and she's got that bubbly, giggly little schoolgirl like, hi, that voice he never hears when he calls her. You know when you have a girl who's like made a new friend. The next morning they sail away to the cabin, and the whole ride to the cabin, because they get dropped off at like the ferry dock and then they drive to the cabin, and the whole way Alan's making these snide little comments about like he should have tried harder to steal Della away, ha ha ha, or all the money in the world doesn't mean anything when you're alone, ha ho. And Richard just wants him to shut the fuck up. Richard's just like, oh, I want this weekend to be over with. At the cabin, they hang out, and Richard just feels like a third wheel. And it's almost like Alan is Della's gay friend, except he's not gay. And not only are not gay, they dated first. That's always nice. But whenever Richard leaves the room for a while, every time he kind of sneaks back in, he overhears them talking, and it sounds like they're making plans to run away together. And Alan's like really touchy-feely with her. He's like always got his hand on her knee when he talks. He's like, oh, I should have tried to, he's like gropes her knee. Should have tried harder to steal her away, and all this like just really inappropriate behavior. And when Richard wakes up in the morning, they're gone again. So he starts snooping around, and he finds some things that she forgot to tell him about. Some sexy things like lingerie and stuff. Whose friends buy you lingerie? I guess another girl could, but that seems weird to me. Anybody buying you lingerie except for your husband or your dad is just... No, I'm just kidding. When they return, Richard spills the beans to Alan. He's no longer selling insurance. He's a bartender at the bar they used to drink at. That's quite the drop. Nothing against bartenders. But it sounds like... I'm imagining he's not going to a prestigious bar. He's gone from selling insurance to working at a dive bar. So he feels like the loser. Alan's clearly the winner. And in his mind, Della's like wishing she'd have chosen different. She's like kicking herself like, man, I had this guy and I settled for the loser because I couldn't tell a good guy when I had him. Also, Richard and Della have been trying to have a kid, and she has not been getting pregnant. So that's just another flaw. Like, Richard's just totally down on himself. And I don't know if he needs therapy, probably. But I don't know why Della is unable to like make him feel better about himself. Or maybe the guy is just a loser and Della's like, I don't want to agree, but it's hard not to. But that should be the motivation for him to like, okay, if your life is spiraling out of control, maybe not the best time to try and have a kid. Not that there ever is a best time. You just kind of do it and then you deal with it as you go. But when when it's obvious, when you're jealous of your friend, possibly best friend, not a good time to procreate. So he gets drunk at whatever o'clock. That night, Alan comes to get Richard because there's a surprise. But Richard has a surprise for Alan. It's a crossbow. And Richard kills him. Then Della comes home and she's all dressed up like June Cleaver. And she's like, hey, what's going on? And then she notices Alan's dead. And somehow one arrow is sticking him to the wall. Maybe he shot him more than that. But still, how's that arrow? It's like he's not even in the same spot where Richard shot him. And she's horrified. She's like, what the fuck? You killed Alan. And of course, Richard, now it just looks like she's jealous. So she decides, I'm getting the fuck out of here. And the game of cat and mouse begins, and he finally catches up to her, and he chokes her out with her lingerie. Then he drags her down to Richard's cabin and says, it's time to go have that kid. When it's like, is she dead? Because choking somebody out doesn't necessarily kill them. But, like, is he planning to fuck a dead person? That was kind of confusing. But then he drags her down there. He opens the door, and there's all these people inside, and they're like, surprise! And he sees, like, 10-year anniversary banners. Daddy banners. Turns out she was pregnant. She hadn't told him yet because she wanted it to be a surprise for their anniversary. What an asshole. This is a classic Tales from the Crypt plot twist. It's a great one. But I call it the Three's Company plot twist because it's everything that Richard's hearing is just out of context crap that's building up in his head out of his own paranoia and insecurity. When if he heard the whole story, he would have figured out they're having a party for him. And at first I was like, why is she dressed like June Cleaver? Oh, it's because she was planning to go to the party. The end. If you like this video, hit like and subscribe and share. And keep watching along. And I will be back soon with the next episode. See you next time.